Greetings friends and welcome back to another video for the Lord of the Rings LCG. Guys, we have new content coming. Yay! January is going to be an epic month for this game. Not only do we have a new expansion coming, but we also have a brand new Valorvolt release set coming at the same time. And both are arriving on January 9th. Oh, can't wait. Now let's run down exactly what we're getting in these releases. The expansion comes with a brand new campaign called The Shadows Fall, and will likely include 5 new quests that follow on from the events of the previous campaign, The Shadows Reach. Also included are 4 hero packs, and each of these packs includes a new hero, one for each sphere, as well as 4 cards that generally tie in some way to that hero, and of course we'll get 2 copies of each of those 4 cards. As for the Valor Vault release, we have 17 brand new cards coming to the Valor Vault, which are free for all players to unlock using their Valor points. These 17 cards include 4 cards from each sphere, and 1 neutral card. Now, as I said, all of this is coming on January 9th. However, you will be able to get a taste of some of these Valor cards this week. December 27th to be exact. 4 new cards from the Valor Vault are releasing on the 27th of this month. Yay for new stuff! So what am I doing for this video? Well, I'm going to be reviewing all the cards that have been spoiled thus far. 15 in total, including some from both the hero packs and the Valor Vault cards. But what the heck is a card review? I mean, obviously I haven't played with any of these cards yet, so I can't really review them technically, but that doesn't stop me from offering my own thoughts and opinions and some ideas for some of these new cards. And hey, I'm not going to shy away from talking about this awesome game, so let's get into it. Now, the first card we have to look at today is Dane Ironfoot II. At least, that's how I choose to say his title. He is our 3rd leadership hero, and he's also our 3rd dwarf hero, which means that we can now officially do dwarf-only decks. And boy, does this guy reward us for doing so. Now, before we get to that, let's look at his stat line. We have 10 threat cost, which is very fine. We're perfectly used to that. We have an attack value of 3, which is the highest we've seen printed on a hero so far, 1 willpower and 10 health. But that ability, all other dwarves gain +1 attack while Dane is not exhausted. Holy cow, if we opt to do the 3 dwarf lineup for the heroes, so that would be Dane, Gimli and what's the other one? Dwalin. We have a total attack value of 10 on the opening round, which is insane. But then you start adding in all the dwarf allies like what do we have? Veteran Axehand, Erebor Watchman, we have the Sigil Miner, and in lore we have the Erebor Record Keeper as well as the Longbeard Mapmaker. So with all those dwarves, with Dane's ability, we have incredible attack value just with that. Now, it is important to keep in mind the stipulation on his ability. In order to get that buff from Dane, he does have to be unexhausted. So he's probably not going to be useful for attacking or defending or fading up early in the round. However, if you should choose so, you can, because leadership luckily runs a lot of readying kind of effects. You know, we have, we have Ever Vigilant, which allows us to ready a character, and we have Common Cause as well, which does something similar. So we have many ways to sort of utilize Dane's buff here and sort of utilize Dane as well. So awesome card, can't wait to play with him. I think he's going to do a lot for the dwarf archetype in the future. Speaking of dwarfs, the next card we have to show is the Iron Hills Miner, which is a 2-cost dwarf ally for lore, and he has 1 attack, 1 willpower, and 5 health. Now, he's got decent health stats, but his weak attack and willpower are kind of a bit unfortunate here. So his ability really is what we want to be playing him for, which is an arrival ability. So when you play him, you get to discard a shadow attachment. Now, at the moment, just examining the current climate of shadow attachments that Sauron can play, there's a lot of cards that sort of affect his side of the board. We have cards that give his creatures keywords like block and stalwart, and then you also have cards that boost their attack values and their health values, and there's even some nasty threat gaining ones in there. just looking at those cards, I don't know if Iron Hill's Miner is going to be worth playing to get rid of those, because they're generally pretty easy to deal with just by killing the creatures that they're attached to. However, where this card's value might come in the future is the nasty shadow attachments that Sauron can then play on our allies that sort of neutralize our allies in some way. I think we saw one in the first quest of the Shadow's Reach campaign where it can exhaust one of our heroes for a few turns, which is pretty nasty. So imagine more that style of shadow attachments, and this guy might be pretty useful. Otherwise, I think he'll be more of a tech card, or generally run as maybe a one-of in some decks. Now, the next card we have is quite a doozy. It is Ever My Heart Rises. It is a 2-cost special attachment in Spirit. Now, it says lose 2 threat before you travel to a new location. Now, this is a powerful card, but I don't think it's quite as powerful as maybe what it seems to be. I think there's a bit of a deception to this card. The reason for that is it does take up a special slot, and there are a lot of other really valuable special attachments that can go on our heroes, like Star Brooch and Unexpected Courage, and personally I would probably rather play those than this card. And part of the reason for that is because this card, while it is threat reduction, it does very little, because of how the threat meter works, it does very little in avoiding the location specific events because of when we lose the threat versus when we enter into a location. And the other issue is, because of its cost, you generally don't want to be playing this on any allies, because if you lose the ally, you lose this attachment, you lose 2 resources. So this is most likely going to go on a hero, especially because you do want to get it out as early as possible to get the most benefit from it. And my argument would be that what hero really wants a card like this, as opposed to some of the aforementioned cards like Star Brooch and Unexpected, or even Self-Preservation, I'm thinking at the moment, or I should say I'm theorizing at the moment, that this card is going to be more valuable on heroes that don't really want to do anything with with a special attachment. They are sort of characters that don't want to be attacking or defending or fading up. So I'm thinking cards like Tom Took might be good for this, and it would probably fit more in decks that are running low on threat as is, rather than actual threat reduction decks, because this card more or less just keeps the threat low, which is, I think, good. I think that'll be a powerful effect. I just don't think it does a lot for sort of avoiding some of the nasty threat events that come up in certain quests. Now, another card that I think the Ever My Heart Rises will go good with is Vertigo Bulger, our new lore hero, who's our second Hobbit hero in the game. Now, Vertigo here has 7 threat, which is the lowest threat value we've seen on a hero so far. He also has the lowest health we've seen on a hero so far, at only 7 as well. So he is quite soft, and he may die pretty easily. He does have 1 attack, which is not super great, but 2 willpower is not too bad. Now, his ability is power action, give a character stealth this round. So with this ability, Vertigo can actually protect himself. Now, before I sort of talk any more about this card, it is important to make a bit of a disclaimer. There are certain cards that we see in this video today that may change in the future, and I think Vertigo is one that will. FFI have already stated that during testing, he was kind of a card that underwhelmed a little bit, so I think we'll see a big change in him, but as is, I think he's interesting to look at in terms of the future of the Hobbit archetype, which I think will be largely all about evasion. If you can give all your characters stealth, it forces Sauron to start playing cards because he can no longer attack. And if he can't play cards, if you're using, say, the Spirit Hobbit's ability to remove resources, then all of a sudden he has to concede the turn to you early and pass around. So there's always that possibility that Vertigo will enable Hobbit decks in the future to sort of have their own unique style of play. So I'm excited to see what Vertigo could mean for the future, and I'm excited to see how FFI balance him or change him to sort of be a bit more relevant to what we have in the game right now. Now, Vertigo's not the only new hobbit we're getting. We're also getting Curious Brandybuck, who is a tactics hobbit ally. He costs 3 resources to play. He has 1 attack, 1 willpower, and 5 health. With the revenge keyword, which basically means that when he dies, you get to return to Sauron's hand a non-unique enemy in play. First of all, it's kind of odd seeing a ally that has a revenge keyword with such high health. But I think this actually works in its favour because it allows the player more flexibility and control over when to trigger this ability. He's not going to die before you're sort of ready for him to, and you can sort of set up when you want to trigger his ability more accurately or more precisely to get rid of a nasty threat on board. And because he is in tactics, it might sort of allow for a slower tactic style of deck that sort of bounces enemies from Sauron's board into his hand and then takes away his resources so he can no longer play that particular card. Personally, I'm not too sure how I'm going to be using this card. I don't think I'll probably be playing with him too much when he first comes out, but I'm really excited to see what other players can do with this in the future. I think that like I said, there might be a really cool slower tactics deck that comes out that sort of utilizes Curious Brandybuck to control Sauron's board state a bit more. Now, moving on, we have Raise the Shire, which is a 2-cost leadership event that says play a random hobbit ally. Now, first of all, no fleeting. So you get a permanent ally with this card, which is really good. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this card is that when this card comes out, we'll only have 3 hobbits in the game that we've seen so far. We'll have Wandering Took, Curious Brandybuck, which we just saw, and we'll also have Farmer Maggot. Now, if you know, Curious Brandybuck and Farmer Maggot both cost more than this card, so there's a higher chance, I think it's 66% chance that you're going to get more value out of this card when you play it, especially if you get Farmer Maggot, who alone, he comes with another ally himself, so that's a lot of value if you can get Farmer Maggot out with this card. It can whiff, of course. You have a 33% chance of whiffing and getting Wandering Took, which is essentially like playing an extra resource for that ally. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing with this card when it comes out, just for that chance to get Farmer Maggot. I think that's going to be really, really, really fun to play around with. Now, for the future of this card, I'm actually not sure. This is one of those weird instances where a card may get better, or it may get worse as the pool of Hobbit cards increases. Are we running more risk of getting lower value for this card, or are we running more higher chance of getting higher value with this card? So I'm excited to see how this card does in the future. Well, that does it for all the Hero Pack cards that have been spoiled thus far. Now we're going to move into the Valor Vault cards that have been spoiled. But the first 4 that we're going to look at are the ones that are all coming out sooner than the others. So so the next 4 would be the ones that are coming out in December. And the first one we have is Bowman, who is a tactics ally. He costs 3 resources to get on the field. He has 1 attack, 0 willpower, and 4 health. He also has the range keyword, as well as the vanquish keyword, which means that when he kills an enemy, he gains 1 attack for the rest of the quest, to a limit of 3. So effectively, the idea is to get this guy to 4 attack. However, you got to be really careful with running allies that are this expensive at 3 with only 4 health. It means that he can die very quickly. You're looking at two attacks and maybe 3 if you're lucky. So you have to find a way of protecting him. Now, you can do so a number of ways. Either you're running leadership and you're getting a lot of guard characters through there, or you chuck a Raiment of War onto him, and that will fix a lot of his issues, because Raiment of War will give him +2 health. It'll also give him block, which goes a long way into defending himself, as well as an extra attack, which makes it easier for him to take down the enemies to get that buff. Ideally, I can really see Bowman sort of fitting nicely into tactics decks that include leadership because of the extra attachments that you can get. You also have resource gain through leadership as well that can sort of offset some of the cost of not only Bowman himself, but of the attachments that you would probably look at getting onto him. I mentioned Raiment of War, but another one that could be good is just Round Shield, just to give him that extra bit of defense, or even Mighty Warrior might be a good one to give him extra attack and Stalwart, so you get a lot of value out of him. So yeah, run him with Leadership, I think is the best option. And I mean, he's got the Dunedain trait. We don't know what that means, but I tell you what, it's not the only Dunedain trait we're going to see in this video. We have our next one, who is Guardian of Arnor. He is a tactics ally, again, Dunedain. He costs 4 resources. He has an attack of 2, 1 willpower, and 5 health. He has the guard keyword, which is good, but he also has counter, which is our brand new keyword for this new set. Now, what does counter do? Well, it deals 1 damage to any enemy that attacks this character. So, if Guardian of Arnor is guarding, he will essentially do 2 reciprocal damage plus an additional damage through counter to whatever enemy attacks him. If he is out of guard, then he'll still do 1 damage to each creature that attacks him. Now, he is expensive at 4 resources, so you're looking at the same cost as someone like Erkenbrand, except he doesn't have block. Now, the good thing is that he is in Leadership, which means that you already have access to cards like Gaining Strength or the Sigil Minor to offset some of the costs, which can sort of make this guy a 1-turn play as opposed to a 2-turn play. Now, he does have decent health, but like I said, he doesn't have block, so you probably want to get something on him to give him block. He might be another one like the Fornas Bowman to run with tactics to get the extra attachments from that tactic sphere. And I mean, he just fits really well into the Leadership sphere because he's a strong ally and he has a lot of strong keywords. So I think he'll be good. I think he'll see a lot of play. And another card that would be really good with him is Ravenhelm, which will give him block as well in his sphere. So no, I think this will be a good card. I'm looking forward to playing him. The next card we have is one that I'm less excited for. It is called Ride to Ruin. It is a 2-cost event card in the Spirit Sphere. And it says to discard a Rohan ally to apply 4 progress to an objective. Now, we've already seen a lot of these apply progress effects in Spirit. Just to name one that I think is actually better than this card is Will of Steel. I don't think this card is better than that, and it costs more. And on top of that, you have to discard a Rohan ally. At the moment, which Rohan ally is worth discarding? It's certainly not Erkenbrand. It's not Rohirrim Lancer. No, it's definitely not Escort from Edoras. You'd rather trigger that revenge keyword. An argument may be made for Westfold Artrider, but yeah, this card just feels like it's a bit average with the current climate. Spirit already has a lot of ways of dealing with progress and willpower. They're very naturally high willpower statted, so who knows how this card's going to go in the future. We might see some Rohan trait abilities on allies in the future that get some kind of benefit from being discarded, because at the moment it does not trigger revenge keywords. So Escort from Edoras will not trigger from this card. So I think it remains to be seen whether or not this card will be valuable. Who knows? We might see some non-timed objectives in the future that cannot be engaged with, where this card might actually become quite invaluable. But again, I still think Will of Steel is a bit of a better option than this one. And the next card we have is another one that I'm completely unsure about how to evaluate. It is The Road Goes Ever On. It is a 2-cost lore preparation event that says gain 3 fate after resolving an objective, excluding hazards. Now, what's cool about this card is that it is the first card that we have in the game that references the fate meter or manipulates how we gain fate. But I just don't know what this card accomplishes. I'm not sure if it's meant to speed up the game for more slower willpower decks, or is this another 2 birds with 1 stone kind of card where the strength of the lore sphere is basically we gain a lot of willpower and we can also gain threat to sort of progress through a quest faster. I think this is just another one of these wait and see cards, but I think it is very cool to see the fate meter reference on a card. It could open more design space for the developers to create maybe some fate reliant cards that, or even just objective focused decks that really trigger well off of completing objectives in some way. Okay, so that does it for all the cards that will be released on the 27th of December. Now we're going to move into the rest of the Valor Vault cards that will be released on January the 9th. And there's some spicy cards here because if you remember, we're getting new hero packs, which means that we're getting a new hero for each sphere. That means that we can now run 3 heroes from one sphere or do a mono sphere deck in the future. And what this means is that we can now get level 3 cards. So we have 1 level 3 card for each sphere to show today. But before I get into the level 3 cards, we do have 1 more level 1 card to show. And that is Rivendell Blade. It is a 0 cost weapon attachment for lore. It is a Nolder or Sylvan only card. And it says, after attacking, remove block from the defender this round. Now, first of all, this is a very cheap attachment at 0. I always like to see cheap attachments. But it is a very weak one. It doesn't boost attack in any way, so you probably do not want to run this at all with tactics. But it does have a major benefit in that it removes a big hindrance from decks that do have low attack strength. So if you're running a mono lore deck, or maybe even a double lore spirit deck or a double spirit lore deck, you can chuck this in there to sort of remove those really annoying hindrances. Because in a deck that's already running low attack, a card like a troll card that comes out that's got really high health and block as well, that can just shut down a deck that's not running much attack value. So, it might be worthwhile. And also, this is a really good card to boost traffic from Dale with, if that's something that you want to do, if you have some kind of money gaining deck that runs leadership and lore. So other than that, I think this card's just going to be a tech card that's used in control decks to sort of help against certain threats or certain quests. Let's get into some juicy stuff. Let's have a look at our level 3 cards. The first one up is the level 3 tactics card. It is Citadel Blade. It is a 2 cost armor attachment for a hero only, and it says gain 4 health and block. Now, this card initially does seem very on par for tactics. We've already seen a lot of these strong armor attachments in like Raiment of War, Shield of Rohan, or even Round Shield. So this is another card that gives us health and block. And I think the good thing about that is if you're running 3 tactics heroes, you have no healing at all. You have none of the healing that comes from lore. So this card is good because it's effectively a Bayon's Hospitality on one hero. So you gain 4 health, and on top of that you gain block, which is really good for defensive and preserving health. So in that regard, it's good. The restriction of hero only does kind of limit the use of the card, but it's okay. It's fairly cheap for what you get for it. Now, we haven't seen our third tactics hero yet, but between the ones that we do have, like Legolas and Gimli, I think this will probably go best with Legolas, because Legolas already has fairly low health at 9, so giving him a boost up to 13 is good, and having block will just keep him alive, because Sauron does tend to sort of focus down on Legolas because of his range keyword, so this might be good for that. Obviously we have to wait to see what our third tactics hero is going to be like, to see whether or not it's worth running a 3 tactics deck for this guy, because I don't think this card alone is worth it, especially considering that we already have Raiment of War and Shield of Rohan and the Round Shield. So now moving on to our leadership level 3 card, it is Strength of Arms. It is a 1 cost event that says ready each of your exhausted characters. Whoa, this is incredibly powerful, especially for only 1 cost. It's essentially ever vigilant on crack and can allow for a huge swing advantage on Sauron. This card effectively is just a take another turn card, and I don't know if this will affect power abilities. And the other thing that's probably worth mentioning too is that it's not going to do the most in co-op. It's still going to do a lot, obviously, but it doesn't affect your co-op partner because it does say each of your exhausted characters. Now, being a level 3 leadership card, it is important to remember what the downsides include. Because you're running 3 leadership heroes, you're not going to have lore, you're not going to have threat reduction, you're not going to have a lot of willpower. Now, this card can be versatile enough to sort of allow you to aggro through a location very quickly, either by clearing the board in one round or allowing you double the willpower of your characters essentially if you need to clear an objective or build up the fate meter. This card also feels very aggressive. Like I said, it can allow you to just aggressively power through a location. However, I don't think this is, even though it costs only 1, I don't think this card's going to be that valuable in opening hand. I think it's more of a mid-quest to late quest kind of card because you want to have more characters on the board in order to get the full benefit of this. Alrighty, and next up is our Spirit level 3 card. It is Ride Them Down. It is 0 cost. Okay, I'm interested. It says, each time you apply progress this round, also deal the same amount of damage to an enemy. Woo! Yes, I love this card. This is so cool because it is such a cool effect for the low cost of 3. Now, I don't know how powerful it's going to be ultimately. I don't think it's going to be as good as the leadership one, but oh, this is just cool because it gives you a reason for building level 3 spirit decks. It gives you a reward for doing it. And as I said earlier, spirit is very good at applying progress to objectives or even just anything. So being able to then turn that into damage is really exciting. Now, it does not appear to work with fating, and it does only affect you as the player, so it's not going to work with your co-op partner. And we do have to wonder what progress actually entails here. We don't know if it includes hazards or if it's strictly objectives. But either way, like on the right location, this could be a really cool card. And it's another 2 birds with 1 stone because not only are you clearing an objective, but you're clearing the board. And, you know, it does, this card, like I said, does what it needs to do for a level 3 card in that it takes a strength of a sphere and uses it to cover for its weakness. So yeah, I love this card. I can't wait to play with it. I think this is the right direction for level 3 cards. This is really cool. And finally, we have our level 3 lore card. It is Eorith. Is a unique ally. She costs 2. She has 0 attack, 3 willpower, and 3 health. And she says, or she has a power ability. It says, restore 3 health to a character. FFI, what the hell are you planning with healing and lore? What's going on here? We have a lot of healing and lore. We have Daughter of the River, which we just got for level 2 lore. We have self-preservation. We have Arwen's ability. We have Imladge's caregiver. All these cards that heal. So what does the future hold for healing? I want to know. Now, first things first, this card is very soft, 3 health, and because she's level 3 lore, there's virtually no way of protecting her. So, I don't know, and she does cost 2, which is kind of pricey. Now, the 3 willpower is very nice, I will admit that, and having a power that is not restricted to, like, the type of characters, it just says a character, so that can be ally or it can be hero, and it can be your allies or heroes, or it can be your co-op partners, allies and heroes. So, I mean, that's good. I don't know if we need this much healing at the moment, and I definitely don't think this card justifies exclusively running lore. Unlike our spirit one, this one's sort of I don't know, like at the moment when this card comes out, you will be forced to run Arwen, Faramir, and Fredegar, and I do not know what that deck is going to allow us to do. Obviously, it's extreme healing, but maybe some willpower and some evasion, but you know, there's literally no attack value there. So yeah, I don't know. This card definitely does not justify running exclusively mono lore. So yeah, FFI, what are you planning? I need to know. Anyway, guys, that wraps up the video for today. We've looked at 15 of the new cards coming soon. A lot of them coming in January. I cannot wait for this new content drop. I'm sure you're all just as eager to get it as I am. Just to play with the new cards, and the new campaign is super exciting to me, and I can't wait to see what you guys all do with these new cards, all the decks that are going to come out. It's going to be a very exciting period, and January, come quicker. I need it all right now. Anyway, I'm going to sign off here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun. Be good. See you later. Bye.